So I spent the last 8 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars marketing my own business, as well as numerous other businesses that I have worked with. And in this video, I'm going to consolidate years of lessons that I have learned through trial, error, wasting money, research. So that way you guys know and have practical tips and takeaways that you can use to market and move your business forward. And you guys can know that, hey, this isn't just some theory. This isn't just something that a 60-year-old professor is going to tell you that's completely outdated. No, this is tried and true, and it actually works in the current market. Now, the very first thing you need to understand is your product is going to be your #1 asset when it comes to marketing. This is something most people don't want to talk about. They want to talk about Facebook ads, Google ads. They want to talk about social media. In reality, your product is going to be your biggest asset. If people are not referring other people to your business, if they're not raving about your business, if they're not like people are asking them, oh, what are you doing to get such good results with your business or your weight loss, or what product are you using that makes your skin so good? Like, if people are not asking your customers that, your product is simply not good enough, and everything that you build on from there from a marketing perspective is going to be built on a foundation of sand. Now, the reason for this is because if people are not staying, if you're not getting referrals, your marketing costs are going to be way higher. Your profit margins are going to be smaller. So you're gonna have to spend more just to make or really break above even, and it's just going to be a never-ending cycle. So what you should really be doing if you're not getting all these referrals, if people aren't raving about your product, is okay, I need to focus on my product, on the experience, from when they hear about me to when they buy, and even after they buy. You don't want just people, hey, they buy your product and they never hear from you again, or just a one and done sale. So before you even really start spending money on marketing, hiring videographers and all this stuff, dial your product in first. And another big thing that people aren't gonna talk about is even when you do scale, you're gonna have to keep revisiting this, because say you're the one, providing the service, or say you have, a small operation where you're, getting out products and things like that. When you scale and you have to, take on more roles, or you're not able to be in the business servicing the customer, you're gonna have somebody else doing it. It's gonna be very easy for that product to get watered down or not as good. So you're gonna have to keep figuring out ways to improving that product quality control and all of that stuff. And another big piece is your product and your marketing should not be two completely different departments that don't work together. They should not be siloed. It's really one and the same, because again, your product is going to be the biggest thing that is going to market your business. So with all that said, now we can get into the more practical stuff. Most people are going to ignore this and think, oh, well, why am I not growing? Why is my social media ads not working? Why is my Instagram stuff not working? Because your product simply sucks. So if you got that down, okay, now we can move on to the other things that again can continue to keep driving your business forward. Now, the second big thing you need to realize is nobody cares about your views. Your views, your likes, your comments do not pay your bills. And that's the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to social media, is they post for virality. The more followers they have, the more I'm gonna make, or the more likes that I'm getting, the more views, that must mean that my business is going to grow. No. And I've seen this firsthand with my own, first business, basketball training. So many trainers, so many people out there just trying to get views. They're posting simple, corny stuff that's not really going to hit their target market. So in reality, yeah, you want to have some viral content that can reach a broader audience, but all of your content should be directly targeted to your ICP. The person that is going to be buying from you, that is the person that matters. That is the person where are they saying, oh, this content is great. This is something that I want to follow. This is very intriguing. This is something that I want to pay attention to. If your ideal customer is not attracted to your content, you can have 1 million followers. It's not going to translate into sales. And at the end of the day, that's what content is for. You're posting on social media. You're spending all this time, energy, and resources on content because you want more sales. So at the end of the day, that is what you should be measuring is my content actually deriving sales in my business? If it's not, you need to adjust your social media strategy. Or again, most people are just targeting, oh, how many views did I get this month? How many likes? Oh, that's great. We're growing on social media, but is it growing the bottom line, and is it actually translating? So with every piece of content that you should be putting out, it's what is the message behind this? And really all a brand really is the constant messaging that you're putting across. So if you're posting for, say, weight loss stuff, and you're just posting, content that's funny, it's entertaining, that's your brand. Your brand is funny. It's not really serious. It's just entertaining. So is that going to attract and get the customer that you want to respect your content and want to sign up with you? Probably not, because your brand is just entertainment and being funny. So your brand is the message that you're constantly relaying to your customer through your content. So you want to make sure that your branding and your messaging hits your ICP, resonates with them, and wants them to convert into an actual customer. And at the end of the day, when it comes to branding and it comes to content, all you're trying to do is build trust. So that is what your content should be doing, is building trust that, hey, the person that is going to buy from me, trust the information that I'm putting out, trust that I can get them results faster, more effectively, more painless than everybody else. So that is why it's so important to not just be posting entertaining content, but content that is going to educate and build that trust. So really, that is the question you should be asking with each of your posts, is what is the goal with this post? Yes, we want some viral content, maybe 10, 15% of it, we're gonna hit, a wider audience. They're just casting a wide net. Then the rest, maybe another 80, 75% of your content is targeted to educating, building trust, showing the product, not necessarily in a salesy way, but again, just building trust with your audience. And then about 5 to 10% can be targeted to trying to convert people off of that through your content. Obviously, there's a lot of ways that we can, bring them into the door through, you know, lead magnets, through free value and things like that. But obviously, again, that is how I would structure your content, not just for virality or views, but things that actually drive the needle forward. Now, the next thing when it comes to marketing your business, whether again, it's the social media content, whether it's your Facebook ads, whether it's your product and how you structure and how you present your product on social media. If you are talking to everybody, you are talking to nobody. That is a big thing that a lot of people make when it comes to their product, but also their marketing of their products is they're trying to appeal to everybody. Say you're selling weight loss, say you're selling supplements, say you're selling even something as simple as lawn care. If you're trying to service everybody, the poor customer, the middle class, the rich, you're really not appealing to anybody because that ideal customer is gonna have certain things that they don't wanna deal with. Say you're trying to sell to, you know, wealthy people with big properties and things like that, and you're trying to come across as, hey, we're affordable. They don't really care about affordable, they care about convenient, they care about professionality, they care about getting it done perfectly every single time. They'll pay a higher price. But if you're trying to do that and you're trying to appeal to everybody, you don't really target your ICP and service them to the best of your ability. So sometimes in your marketing, you almost want to repel the customer that you don't want so you can get the customer that you do want. This is another thing that I have learned personally through my own basketball training business. Before I was trying to, you know, be perfect for everybody, being affordable. I wasn't as good. So, you know, I was in that middle range where I'm really competing with everybody, but I'm not cheaper, I'm not more expensive, I'm not better. And it's very tough to get people to convert at that level versus when I got really good at what I was doing and I'm like, hey, I'm not training everybody. I am not for everybody. I am for the person who really wants to get better. This is not their first time playing basketball. Price isn't really the biggest thing that they're looking for. They're looking for quality and guaranteed results. Not, we're just looking for somebody to come in, get some work in. No, that's not who I'm for. And I'm willing to say no to that customer. That's not what I do. And because of that, I was able to attract more of the high quality customers that I do want. So that is something you can do in your content where you're talking about things and you're saying you're willing to repel that customer. Hey, no, this is not what we do. If you're this person, that's not what we talk about. That's something that you can even do in your ads. Say you're trying to sell weight loss or you're trying to sell, you know, personal training to high-end clients. And you're like, hey, if you're just trying to lose some weight at affordable price, this isn't for you. That's going to repel all the customers you don't want. And that'll keep the people watching who are the customers that you do want. Or even something to say, you know, a service-based business, or we do websites, or we do social media content, or we do marketing. And you're trying to appeal to every type of business, everyone who has maybe 1,000 followers and someone who has 50,000. You're not going to really appeal and be perfect for any of those clients. So figure out who you're trying to serve, exactly what that customer profile looks like, and start marketing and messaging directly to that person and be willing to repel some of the customers that really aren't a good fit for you. Number one, your product is going to be better because you're servicing those people to a higher degree and you're fitting all of their needs and wants. And then it's going to be a lot more scalable because your processes, your, you know, marketing is going to be a lot simpler. So again, you're just going to convert at a higher level. You're going to be more profitable. It's going to be a lot easier. And again, you're going to get a lot more satisfied customers. Now, the next thing when it comes to marketing is people talk about, oh, should I do Facebook ads? Should I do Google ads? Should I do content? And most businesses do one or the other. They're going to do content and put all of their time and energy into organic, or they're going to put all their time and energy into just paid ads. And they think it's one or the other, when in reality, if you do both, that is going to convert at the highest rate. I see so many people that just do content, never run ads. This was me personally. Like, I was doing organic content for like 4 or 5 years, never ran an ad. I was like, I don't really need to do that. I'm doing a lot on ads. And then I see people who are doing, just ads, and they have no organic following. They're running ads to an account with 300 followers and their social media looks trash. In reality, the best place to be, which is what I discovered when I started doing organic content and marketing for other businesses, is when you have both, your ads are going to convert at a way higher rate when you have that organic content. And when you have organic content, you're going to essentially own your audience. You're going to be building trust. So it's a lot easier to sell that existing audience. So really the formula is to be doing organic content. Now through this, you're going to improve your marketing, improve your messaging, figure out, okay, what does the audience resonate with? Then you can use some of that data into marketing, doing paid ads, things like that. That will drive some people into your funnel, into your organic content. That's going to build trust. And then you're going to convert at a much higher rate because a lot of your content isn't going to be salesy. So when your organic audience sees some of those ads, they're going to convert at a higher rate because they already trust you. So it's really the difference between renting your audience, where you're having to pay to get people into the door, and organic content, which you're still paying for in some degree or another. You're maybe paying videographers, editors, or you're just simply paying with time, but you more so own that audience. So it's really best to do both. Again, there's times and place for both of these, but if you're doing both, you're going to convert way higher. So the way that I really look at it is content is a non-linear deal flow. So okay, year one, maybe you get 0, you get 1 client. Then year 2, maybe 3, 4. Then year 3, boom, now you get 20. Then year 4, you get 100. So it's very non-linear versus ads is a much more linear. Put $10 in, this is what I get back. And you can just keep doing that trade over and over again, but it's very linear. So when you can do both, that's where you can have linear growth, but then you can have that non-linear growth that is just going to explode it over the long term. It may take 3, 4, 5 years, but if you can do both, that's where you can kind of really benefit from both of these. Now, the next thing when it comes to marketing is you need to know your numbers. You need to know, what is a customer worth? What is the lifetime value of a customer? What is my average cost to, acquire a customer? What is the average profit per month of each customer? If you don't know these numbers, it's going to be very tough to market and know if you are marketing marketing is being profitable. So if you don't know your numbers, don't run ads until you know those numbers. If you're not, you're really just gambling and hoping that it works, which is exactly what most people do. They don't know any of these numbers. They say, oh, I'm gonna spend $500 on ads. But then some people would just be like, oh yeah, well, it doesn't work, right? And turn the ads off. In reality, you could have been very profitable, or maybe you were break even, then you need to improve your ads or you need to change where you're putting your ads. But sometimes, okay, maybe your average lifetime value of a customer is 5,000 or 10,000. It all depends on your business, right? You really have to know your audience. You could be having a construction business and your average project is $100,000 and you spent $1,000 on ads and you didn't get it when you're like, oh, it doesn't work, right? But maybe you gotta spend $3,000, $4,000 because your profit is $50,000 on a project. Yeah, you have a lot of room to go. So it all kind of depends on the business. But again, say your average lifetime value of a customer is 10,000, you spent $200 on ads, didn't get anybody, or you spent maybe 1,000 and you got 2 leads, you converted one of them, you're like, oh, this isn't really that profitable. It really is, because you spent 1,000 or 500 to get a lead and convert a customer, and your lifetime value is 10. So maybe your initial, investment wasn't super profitable, but over the long term, it is. So you just need to know, okay, what are my numbers so I can know what is my target and then know what is profitable. And when it is profitable, okay, I'm just gonna keep pouring money back into this until it's not. So at the end of the day, when you know your numbers, marketing simply just becomes about math. Obviously, the creative and how you structure the ad is gonna make the math either better or worse, but at the end of the day, it's just a simple equation. If I put $1,000 in and I can get, $5,000 of lifetime value or, first year value back, I'm going to make that trade all day long. Now, there's obviously ways that you can make it way more profitable. Like, for example, one of the ads that we have ran multiple times now, spent about $500 and we return back $11,000 in new revenue from new clients. So I'm making that trade of 500 to 11,000 over a 3-month period. I'll do that as many times as I possibly can until the numbers no longer make sense. So it really just becomes about math. When you know your numbers, if you don't run ads until you do. Just clarify those numbers and then figure out, okay, now it's just simply about math. Now, the next point, and one of the most important things, is being a marketer is not being rigid. That is the biggest mistake that you see a lot of business owners make, whether it's, a business owner for 20 years ago, it's like, oh, I've never ran ads, so I'm not gonna run ads. You are being rigid. Or, yeah, I just do commercials because that's what works. That may be what worked 10, 20 years ago, or I run radio ads. Yeah, that's what worked 10, 20 years ago. That doesn't mean that's the best and most efficient way to run your marketing today. Maybe it is just doing content. Maybe it is doing radio ads, but have you actually ran the numbers? Have you tested different things? The best marketers are going to test, and they're going to be fluid. They are going to change with the times. Same people that, hey, as soon as TikTok came around, boom, we're gonna start posting on there. We're gonna cycle some of our content on there, see what happens. Facebook ads come out, boom, let's start to try that. Let's run the numbers, see what works, see what doesn't work. And they're going to be able to change with the times. You're even seeing this now with, the whole McDonald's, Burger King, where the owner came out, the CEO came out and was eating the burger, and then boom, now Burger King comes out and they're, utilizing that. So they're utilizing trends, they're utilizing new platforms. And they're also, even within these platforms, adjusting. What you were doing 5 years ago on TikTok or Instagram Reels isn't going to work the same as it's going to today. So you have to be willing to change, adapt with the times, try different things. And then at the end of the day, when you know your analytics, you know your numbers, you know your data, you're gonna figure out, okay, this is working better now, let's lean into this, or let's do this different. But at the end of the day, if you're just rigid and you're just stuck in your ways, as a business owner, you are going to die. Not literally, your business is going to die. So at the end of the day, you have to have a strategy, you have to know your numbers, but you have to be fluid and you have to be able to be willing to change with the times. And at the end of the day, the market is going to tell you what works. You can say, oh no, this works, this works. At the end of the day, if your numbers don't make sense here, or you're not trying other things, how do you know that this is still the best way to work? How do you know that this is the best return on investment that you could be spending? Because at the end of the day, that's all business is using limited resources to the best of your ability. If you're gonna be spending $10,000 on marketing, you wanna be figuring out, okay, if I spend $10,000 on radio ads, I might get 20,000 back. But if I spend it on Facebook ads, I might get 100,000 back. But you being stuck in your way is really costing you $80,000 a year. So be willing to change, be like water, be adaptable, and have your finger on the pulse and see what is going on in the market in terms of trends, in terms of platforms, and be willing to jump on something right away. So hopefully you liked this video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. If you did, drop a like, drop a comment. And most of you guys who are watching are not subscribed, so please hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys in the next video soon. Peace.